But the reality, brothers and sisters, is this. People have got to start waking up. And we've woken up here today. But the rest of the trade union movement's got to start waking up. This ain't just about pensions. This is about an ideological attack on every working man and every working woman in this country. And we've got to start saying that next day of action should be, which is going to be called in October, understand, by the TUC executive when it meets in May, should not just be an attack, a demonstration on pensions, but we should start looking for a 24-hour strike on the effects of austerity against everyone, whether they're working in the community or working at all. And the fact of the matter is, people say, what do you get from demonstrations? Well, marching feet make history. The reality is, examples like Vietnam, where people marched, the point of view was got over and the victory was made. The reality is, at the end of the day, it can't be just marching for the sake of it. What we've got to have is marching as part of a strategy to reverse the attacks taking place on us by this condemned government. By the way, I was sickened when I heard Ed Miliband say in the Hyde Park that under Labour there'd be cuts, but they won't be as severe. Like going into hospital and having your arms and legs being told by the surgeon being cut off, and the next day the surgeon saying, we're only cutting your arms off, and you think you've won a victory because you've kept your legs, but you walk out with no arms. That's what the reality is of New Labour. They've got no strategy. All New Labour is basically hoping that the condemned do so badly that they'll be re-elected, but they will continue to carry out the same policies of multinationals and big bosses. Let's be absolutely clear. Let's not spend our time worrying about those three political parties. And let's be absolutely clear what they stand for. They all support privatisation. They all support keeping anti-trade union laws. And they all support PFIs. And they all support illegal wars around the world. That's the reality. There might be some minute detail, but their principles are exactly the same. So therefore, brothers and sisters, we have to say to ourselves what we're doing. It's simple what globalisation means. It means that if a worker in the Far East makes a suit for a bowl of rice, then there's two options. You'll either go to a swanky tailor's down in New York and say to a tailor, how much do you earn? And if he or she earns $1,000 a week, there's two options. Either you pay the person in the Far East the same amount of money to produce the suit, or you say to that swanky tailor in New York that you've got to work for a bowl of rice as well. And the bosses have picked a bowl of rice because the amount of money that's saved in between goes to the employers in profits. So they've got to drag you down to a bowl of rice as well. And once they get you to a bowl of rice, then the system's going to be pretty simple. It's half a bowl of rice and slavery. So who stands in the way, really, of slavery and decency? The only people that stand in the way is an organised trade union in the workplace and those people in the political spectrum that's prepared to roll their sleeves and arms up for working men and working women. They don't want it. When they say austerity's not working, it's not working for us, but it's working for that top 3% in society. Why is it in the Sunday Times Rich List that the top 3% in society over the last 8 years have improved their finances at the expense of other people? Because it all boils down to one thing. Everything we took for granted since World War II, the National Health Service, the decent comprehensive education, they want to dismantle it bit by bit because the bosses have an ideological hatred against working people. They don't want you to have nothing. They want you to have a piece of paper with your name on the top, and they will like to tell you that's the time you start, that's the time you finish, and use you like one of those lemons in a gin and tonic when they've used you and squeezed the juice out of you. They toss you to one side and they don't want it. So there's the time. It's no good us keep on looking back and marching for Jim Cornell, the great man he was. But let's start making some of our own history. Let's start having plaques about what's happening in 2013 and 2014. How we're going to end this austerity crisis and smash these bankers and capital. Brothers and sisters, I'm a pleasure to come over here year after year. But it's no good us marching and having resolutions. We've got to carry out the full impact. And that means militant trade unionism in the workplace, coupled with a political party that's prepared to roll its sleeves up and fight on behalf of working people like Thatcher did on behalf of big business.